So today I felt really called to finally record a video on my Kambo and DMT experience. I don't know if it's because it's Pisces season or if it's just because now I've had enough time to reflect on the experiences, but nonetheless here I am today. So I did have the opportunity to try Kambo and DMT about 2 months ago. I would have done it early January, so it has been a little bit. I don't know, now I feel comfortable talking about what I experienced and I want to share it with you. Maybe because you've always been curious about, you know, how these things work, or maybe you're thinking about trying it yourself. But I just want to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not by any means trying to persuade you or recommending that you try these medicines. I'm just sharing my experience and you can do whatever you want with this information. Kambo is an ancestral medicine and it's pretty much like a dried up frog poison. the frog excretes this like poison through its sweat glands, and it's pretty much collected and put on like a little wooden pallet, and then it is dried out, and pretty much when you're going to apply it you have to get it wet and it kind of turns into a paste, and you have to like create an entrance point for the poison. I don't know how else to explain it, but this is typically done by burning the top layer of the skin, and then the paste is applied in like dots to your skin. So a lot of people that have done Kambo, you'll notice that they have like circle scars. I have mine on my calf area, so I did 5 different, I guess, doses or dots of the Kambo, and the whole idea is that this is applied, then it's absorbed through your lymphatic system and then spreads throughout your body and you start feeling the effects. If you don't know what Kambo is, it pretty much is believed to kind of do a detox of your body and your soul. Some people believe that it does help get rid of like ailments. Sorry for the drill noise if you can hear that. Some people do believe that it can get rid of like ailments, whether it be like physical illness or just like fatigue, etc. And then other people like myself do it more to kind of purge and to get rid of negative energy or like trapped trauma. What typically happens is that you start feeling ill and you purge via either throwing up or coming out the other end. And yeah, you kind of just ride the wave and you feel really great after. How did I personally fare through this experience? Well, I kind of went into it knowing that it wasn't going to be pleasant, but I also, because I knew that, I tried to be very open about what I was going to experience and not resist the ill feeling that I knew was going to come on. I immediately started feeling very hot. What happens too is that you start feeling very concentrated heat, or like almost like a rush of energy in different spots in your body depending on where this energy that needs to be purged is. For me specifically, it was in my arm. Well, for both my arms, and also in my head. And it's interesting because I, for a long time, did deal with a lot of anxiety and depression. Also, like my previous job, I was working in the beauty industry and my arms were used a lot, and I did develop like nerve pain in my arms. So that kind of like made a lot of sense to me as to why I was specifically feeling the sensations there. It just honestly just feels like a rush of heat and a rush of energy, and I just felt a lot of tingling. I just felt like I had to move my arms around a lot. It was intense, and you're like really hot. And then people typically start like purging it out, and for me, I like wasn't really throwing up. The shaman flipped over like the dose on the other side, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't know, he like flipped it over so that I could like absorb more of the poison, I guess. And at that point, probably within like a minute, I started just vomiting. And it's not like just like like small bursts, like no, it's like exorcist shit. Like you're like Oh, I forgot to mention that before you do all this, you drink like 3 liters of water. So I had to down 3 liters of water before I did this, and that's mostly what comes out. But what you're looking for is like a yellowy bile part of the vomit, and that's how you know that like you've gotten rid of the block or of what you needed to purge. And then once you're kind of done with the puking, you start feeling better. I did start feeling really cold after, and I know people kind of go like in between like hot and cold, but for me I was like really hot at the beginning and then cold near the end. And yeah, I definitely felt lighter and I could feel a difference. Now I decided to do DMT right after, and typically that's what is recommended, that you do the Kambo first to purge out, that you can make sure you kind of have more of like a clean trip or experience when you're on DMT. Oh my god, like I was still like thinking back to that experience. It's like the most otherworldly alien experience I've ever had in my life. And I'm somebody that has experimented with psychedelics. I'm by no means a rookie in that arena, and I just have to say that it's honestly nothing compared to what I had experienced on those other psychedelics. I do feel like they each kind of have a different purpose and like a different intensity level, but the biggest thing that I do like that I can say differentiates DMT from all the other psychedelics is the amount of control that you have. I know that when you're on other psychedelics, it's like you don't really have control about maybe the visuals or the feelings that you're experiencing, but you still are conscious in your body and aware that you're in your body and have like motor skills, and there's still a connection between your soul and your body. When you do DMT, that is not the case. Like that is gone. That is ripped away from you in a matter of seconds. It's like there's no real way of preparing yourself for the sensation when the DMT hits you because it's so quick. Most psychedelics, they do take some time to kick in. That was not the case. So I guess that's kind of where I was really caught off guard because I knew it was quick, but I didn't realize how quick. And so that's something that like I am warning you on, like if you do end up doing DMT, like be prepared for it to hit you very quickly. Something else I want to say just as a disclaimer, I'm by no means like advocating for anybody to try this. You really need to do your own research and do what feels best for you. I personally, the only reason why I did DMT was because I've been on a really intense spiritual journey for a few years now, and I just felt like I was being called to do it. And I also had like a connection to somebody who's like trained in this, who's like a shaman and like knows what to do and like takes care of you. So I did do this in a ceremony setting, so it wasn't like I was just like on my couch blasting off just for fun. Like that wasn't the intention of it. This experience served a higher purpose for me, and it was more than just getting like messed up, if that makes sense. And I know most people that do DMT or like ayahuasca, they don't do it to like get high. They're doing it for like the spiritual aspect of it, but I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so DMT. Yeah, what you do is you pretty much smoke the DMT out of a pipe, and within, I want to say like 3 seconds, you're gone. For me, it was like I smoked it and you have to hold it for, you try to hold it for 15 seconds. It's not that easy. Even for like a veteran pothead, it's not easy to hold it, especially because the smoke is so heavy. So I'm holding it in, and then it's like I can't hold it anymore because I'm like, my soul's no longer in my body, and it's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but everything just left. And it felt like a time warp. You know, in the movies when you see like the time travel machine and it's like everything's like moving quick but like slow at the same time, that's what it felt like. It's like everything was being pulled. It's like my consciousness was leaving my body. My consciousness was leaving the room, and all the people that were in the room with me, it had left and gone somewhere else. The feeling, it's unexplainable. It's like you go into the experience telling yourself, okay, don't fight it because you're not gonna have control. Don't fight it, don't fight it. And it's like, because you don't even know what to expect and you've never consciously felt that amount of no control, you kind of do forget a little bit because it feels like you're dying. And I'm sure this is what it feels like to be born and to die. It just feels like you're slipping away, you're falling away, like your soul is going somewhere else. It's rising above where you currently are. Yeah, everything was gone. All that was left was my consciousness. It made me understand on such a deeper level the whole idea of our souls are eternal. Like, our souls cannot be destroyed, our consciousness cannot be destroyed. It, like, DMT really shows you that. Even your closest loved ones, at the end of the day, the physical form that they're in, that doesn't mean anything. Just like the physical form that I'm in right now, that doesn't mean anything. When you're like, the true nature of consciousness is beyond this physical form. And I know that that's said a lot in the spiritual community, but it's one thing to hear those things and not really understand what that means because you've never really truly experienced what that thought means. But when you take DMT, it's like you finally understand what that means. And I think it gives you a really good glimpse at what true consciousness is and where we all come from. And that being here on this earth is a very temporary experience. You do realize that nothing here matters. We're here for a temporary experience. And I feel like that was my biggest realization from my experience, that why am I so scared to live my life, speak my truth, be who I really am, when that's what I came here to do. That's what my consciousness came here to do, and I'm scared for no reason, because in the end, all of it is gonna slip away anyway, and it can in the blink of an eye. And I feel like, again, that's not a new idea, but once you take DMT, it's like you really understand what that means, because again, you see where we all come from, you see what true consciousness is, and you no longer have fear. When you do DMT and you start coming back, there's kind of like an amnesia to the experience, and I really do think that this is done on purpose, because I don't think that we're meant to really bring back the full extent of what we experienced back with us. And so you really start forgetting what happened, and it almost happened for me immediately, where like I came back and I just knew what I had experienced, but I didn't really remember it, if that makes sense. Because it's like, when you start coming back into your body, it's like you forget it once again. Now, this is the interesting part. Like I said, I had done Kambo before the DMT. While I was out of my body, I started feeling the need to purge again, so throw up. And so it started, thank God. Like, this is why, again, you need to have someone that knows what's going on or is experienced with this kind of babysitting you. It's the same with any psychedelic, but specifically DMT, because if I was there alone or with someone that wasn't paying attention, I could have definitely like choked on my own vomit and passed away or something awful. Right away, I was like pushed on my side, given a bucket, and I let out probably the purge that really needed to come out, that I couldn't quite get when I was doing the Kambo beforehand, because that's how lodged in my body it was. And for people that are watching this video and know me personally, but like really know me personally and know a lot about my story and what I've gone through, then you know why. You know that I've dealt with a lot of heavy stuff throughout my path, and I feel so blessed that that was purged out, because once I came back, I felt literally reborn. At this point, when I'm purging, I'm kind of forced to be back in my own body, and so I become more conscious of the room once again, but still not fully there. Almost like an elevator, where when you first like go into the trip, you're like skyrocketed into like the highest level or highest dimension possible. And then as you start to kind of come back down, it's like level by level by level, but my soul was still aware and interacting with the other side, with the other realm. It was in another dimension still, but one closer to this density. I became aware of the people in the room, but it was interesting because I wasn't aware of them like I would be right now in this state of consciousness. It was more so I was aware of their souls, of their higher selves. I was feeling the thoughts and emotions of their higher selves. While I was purging, it just felt like they were all so proud of me. And it's funny because a lot of the people that were in the room don't really know me very well or don't really know what I've gone through. But the feeling that I had was that their soul did understand the extent of what I was getting out of my system, what my soul was purging out. And I really do feel like it wasn't just stuff from this lifetime. I feel like it was stuff from past lifetimes, ancestral, generational pain, and I could feel the intensity and the pain that was coming up with that purge. Not gonna lie, when I was doing this purge, it felt like I was like in the middle of like the jungle in like a hut doing like a ceremony, and I'm sure that I was maybe having like a past life flashback where I've probably done heavy psychedelics, maybe even DMT, something of the same intensity in a ceremony in the jungle, and it felt very native, very old, very connected to the earth, like very like, you know, tribal days almost. Yeah, it was intense. It was really intense, but it was remarkable. And I just remember after the purge, I just laid back down and I just had the biggest smile on my face. I had never smiled that big in my life and felt that intense joy. I've had like similar feelings during meditation, but nothing to the same extremity. I was just so happy and I felt so blessed and I felt so grateful and confident. That's the biggest thing that the biggest feeling that came back with me, just this overwhelming sense of confidence and purpose. And it's almost like, oh yeah, like it was like my soul was like, oh yeah, like you should be excited, like you, like it's kind of like, it reminds me of what I probably felt before I incarnated. And it's like, you know, I see everything that's gonna play out in my life, and exactly how I, you know, what I placed here during this age and this part of my life, and it's like, oh my god, I'm so excited to do this. And then as you incarnate here, things are so heavy and dense and difficult that you forget. And again, the amnesia that I was talking about. So you don't remember. And so it's hard, right? You don't have the same enthusiasm. But when I came back, it was like that enthusiasm was back within my soul. It was a reminder, a refresher of why I'm here. And it's not like I had the exact details. Like I said, you do really forget a lot of it, but it's the feeling that the residual feeling that you're left with, that you came here for a reason and your soul knows it. And it's just like, I'm gonna trust that now. I'm gonna trust my soul, my intuition, my higher self now, because it knows what's supposed to happen. It knows where I'm going. And that was powerful. And I just remember saying like, I'm not scared anymore. That's what I kept saying. It was like, I'm not scared anymore. And I just felt like the energy around me was so proud of me. That's something that was really coming through so strongly. And I was crying. Everything just felt so beautiful. And I remember one of the biggest realizations that I had, because I am somebody, I love crystals, I love tarot decks, oracle decks, like they're very integral to my work, really do help me a lot. But I remember one of the biggest realizations that I had was that none of that matters. Your crystals, your tarot deck, like that is, again, it made me realize how much of a tool these things are, and that the real magic, the real answers come from my soul. Man, these crystals, like they don't mean anything on the other side. They really don't. I think that they almost act as a way for us to like remember, or to kind of channel our energy, or for the universe to channel its energy through these items. But it's like, it was like, that's not where the magic really comes from, if that makes sense. And I think that's really related to the whole realization that nothing in the physical matters at the end of the day. I think that like leaving my body and being in my, like with my consciousness, made me realize how big it is, how large our souls, our consciousness are in reality, and that it's just being funneled or split into this physical form for a temporary period of time so that we can have an experience. And the only thing that's real is the consciousness, because without that consciousness, we wouldn't be aware of this experience that we're having. We wouldn't be having it. And so while I think it's so important to be grateful for the vessel that you're in and the physical that you get to experience, it's so important not to get attached to it. And I think that's something else that I really understood and learned for real from this experience. It's like, we are doing a disservice to our souls by being so attached to the people, to the places, to the things, money, cars, homes, family, relationships, all of it. Like, all of it, again, is just a part of the experience, but it's not meant to be the whole definition of the experience. It's meant to be so much more than that. I guess having this realization is also what gave me the confidence and just the feeling of I'm not scared anymore, because it made me realize how trivial all these things that we all worry about are. And I understand that when we're experiencing them here, it feels different, right? We're in a very dense reality, and it does feel very real, and it feels like the end to all means, but I really want to let you know that it's not. Your soul even knows this on a deep level. It's just, again, there are so many layers that have been added to us in this reality that I think have just made the amnesia even stronger. Amnesia of, you know, forgetting who and what we really are. And what we really are is not attached to my ego, me, Lillian, my personality that I've curated in this lifetime. Like, it's completely unattached. Oh, another thing as well. When I was away, I was hearing another language, and I remember I described this to my partner. It wasn't like English or Spanish, like it wasn't a human language. It sounded like an alien language, and it was intense, and just like, yeah, everything's just so intense when you're on DMT. The sensations, the vibrations, and the sounds, the visuals, everything. And this might be a little bit out there for some of you, but I very strongly emphasize that when I was away, that I was surrounded by like beings, and they looked like cats. And I know that people that are aware of like star seeds, they know what I'm talking about, but maybe some people don't, or they think that's really weird. But like, that's, again, like, those were the beings that I was around, or like cat humanoid type beings. They felt like family, like they have been with me forever. Interestingly enough, part of me does feel like I had to go through the DMT experience so that I could have deeper meditation experiences. The week after I did DMT, I had one of the most incredible meditations of my life, and it felt very similar to the sensations that you feel when you're on DMT. Now that I've been doing breath work, and the breath work allows you to release small amounts of DMT as well during meditation, I have felt similar sensations. I do feel that it's very important for us to also try and connect with ourselves through these practices, because I ultimately feel like in the end they're a little better because they're not as intense, but also we have more control over the experience, and it really allows us to kind of take it one step at a time and be more prepared. I don't regret doing DMT, but I do think that it's not something that I would probably do all the time, or I'm not sure if I'm meant to be connecting with the other side that way, since I have the tools to do it in other ways. I hope that you found this video interesting, informative. I just really felt like I needed to share my experience and share, if you want to call them words of wisdom. You know, I just want to finish this video by saying that I feel so grateful to have been able to experience it, and it's completely changed my life. I, you know, came back down and felt reborn. It felt like I was swallowed by the universe and born again. You know, I was born again. I hope that this resonated with you and your soul, and that you found value in my, you know, listening to my experience. But yeah, with that in mind, I'll see you next time.